This is Hope for Humans. Funny, useful conversations to make the world around us suck just a little bit less. Today's conversation is entitled, Check Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself. Oh man, did I need this conversation today. And I think you will enjoy it too. It's incredibly useful and timely, and I think you're really going to love it. So let's get started.
This podcast is a presentation of Pioneer Dream, celebrating 30 years of moving stories for our corporate, nonprofit, and entertainment partners.
Fellow humans, what is up? I am Jay Webster. This is Anjanette Webster, as the announcer told you.
Did you almost forget your name?
No, I just, our daughter Evangeline is doing a beautiful job of introducing us also telling you all the pertinent and relevant information.
Oh, I love it.
And welcome to the very first podcast of the new name change, Hope for Humans. And you probably all know us from our former name, Dreamers Live. And so anyway, we're so excited for you to be here. We are talking about you better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Wait a second. With the new name, I mean, do you feel different?
I absolutely feel, like
feel
it's a higher calling. You know what I mean?
Too. I mean, we went from Dreamers Live, which is fun. Like, hey,
right.
cool.
But that had kind of a local connection to it originally.
Right?
And now, since we're international, this is much bigger.
Yeah, Hope for Humans. I like it.
And I thought no better time than talking about checking yourself before you wreck yourself. But before we get into that, before we go down that road.
We could do a few episodes on this, I feel.
Oh, my gosh. I want to tell you, of course, that yes, we did have a name change. If you are a subscriber, you should obviously not have to do anything different, but you probably did notice new artwork. You probably see our faces on it, so that helps you make a connection if you know what we look like. And you shouldn't need to do anything else except that we would, of course, love it if you would rate the podcast and like the podcast and subscribe to the podcast and let the world know this is your podcast and you want them to hear it too.
I love it. And now that we have the cool new name, Hope for Humans, it's a little bit more descriptive. So perhaps that will make it easier for you to send the link to somebody else. They won't have to say Dreamers Live. What is that? Hope for Humans. It's sort of like, we're having funny, hopeful conversations about how to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Right. Yeah. We like to call them funny, useful conversations to help kind of make the world around you suck a little less.
Oh, that was good. Did you write that?
Just coming up with that on the spot now. Speaking of Dreamers Live, we did have a Dreamers Live event last week, and it was our annual Groundhog Dreamers Live.
Oh, it was a super festive occasion.
Was.
It started, we were a little worried, not worried, because it never depends on how many people show up.
Right.
We're going to have a good time anyway. But right as we were finishing setting up the groundhog and everything for the party, it started snowing. And for those of you who are not from Oklahoma, we get real
snow can catawamp you.
Yeah,
pretty bad.
I mean, we get it every year, but people freak out and they buy all the bread and milk, and so we started seeing snowflakes. I thought, we're going to have 7 people and it'll be great. But
and that would have been generous. It'd been nice to have the 7 people. Really.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But it was really
a tremendous amount of effort because of the groundhog experience. So to have just the 7, and we were also doing it in the Ambler Performing Arts Hall, which is an amazing facility.
Yeah, so we were just excited for more people to see it and come and get our free groundhog prizes and everything, and they did.
It turned out we had a wonderful crowd.
A huge crowd. It was super fun. I think people were tired of being stuck in the house, and they wanted to celebrate the Groundhog New Year,
we
as
had
we like to
lots
call
of
it.
new faces and lots of faces we hadn't seen for a while.
Yeah.
And there was a real communal feel to it. And sometimes you show up to the Dreamers Live event and there's just this sense of expectancy there that people are really want to be there. They haven't been dragged there, coerced, or they're not nervous about it because it's their first time. But the people that are there are coming because they want an experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think last Friday night it definitely had that feeling. Like people were there, they wanted to commune, they wanted to connect, and this particular event we did was really interactive. So we really kind of spun off what was happening in the room and what people were commenting on about hope and all that, and how to maintain hope and.
Yeah, it was really good. And I don't think the groundhog hurt. I mean, it was festive.
No, there are a lot of pictures taken with groundhogs. And
it was a good time.
There were groundhog treats. There was the groundhog nog. which was a hit.
Hey, I didn't think that people were going to get into the groundhog nog, but that they did.
They delighted themselves in the groundhog nog. We did champagne toast, and it was just an overall, on a bleak midwinter evening, it was a spot of festivity that was, I think, everybody embraced.
It really was. So mark your calendars for next year. The groundhog party is always the Friday before February 2nd.
And speaking of marking your calendars, our very next Dreamers Live event will be on March 13th, and it will be in our lair, the Pioneer Dream Studios, our loft space just in downtown in the heart of the known universe. And so if you're around on March 13th, 5 to 7 p.m., the tickets are free. It will be a St. Patrick's Day celebration.
It will be.
In anticipation.
It's our St. Patrick's weekend warm-up, we call it. So we get ready with all of the
If you
Irish.
don't stretch out going into St. Patrick's, you could rupture something.
Yeah, somebody asked me if would have green beer,
We
and I
will
said,
not.
no, ew. I said, that's
You
gross.
resisted slapping them?
I
You
did.
almost took your glove out and smacked them?
I said Jay would never let that happen. I said, but we will have some authentic, like Irish beer from Ireland.
Right.
And then we always do have our green shamrock sippers, and those are very tasty. So if you are in the need for something green,
you can do whatever you want to a punch. You just don't mess with beer. There's no reason to make it green.
I know. I would never.
Yeah. So anyway, it will be a lot of fun. That's another special Dreamers. They're all special, really. But if you are curious, you can go to dreamerscoalition.com. There's a button labeled Live, as in Dreamers Live, and that has all the dates for the 2026 season of Dreamers Live events. So if you're regional or think you might be traveling this way, check that and see if any of those dates correspond with your travel. And then if you live here, well, then just keep your calendar clear of those dates. If there are weddings or births or baptisms that try and pop up, just tell them, I'm sorry, I'm not available that date.
By all means, I mean, we publish a date so that you could plan your entire life around us.
I think it only makes sense.
Yeah, so do it.
A funny thing happened this morning, and I don't want to do the thing where you go on about how busy your life is or how all this kind of stuff because we try and make a concerted effort to not do that and not live in that.
It's just life.
And yet, I think maybe because of where we are in this moment in our lives with another human that lives with us,
who's involved in 900 activities.
Happens to be our daughter. So she, we've been going to things at night for her that go late, and then we get up and now. Because she's not in college, apparently her hair is still really, really important. So the amount of energy and effort that goes into
it is the bane of our existence.
Yeah, all to say, we try and eat breakfast together every morning. That's kind of one of our touchstone moments where we get together, we look each other in the eye, we talk about what's going on a day, we make sure everybody's okay.
It's not long and it's not fancy, but it's kind of like morning meeting. Here's some oatmeal.
But maybe 3 out of the last 5 attempts at doing that, I have not eaten breakfast. I've had to package my breakfast and take it with me
in the
because the morning is so chaotic and there's things to be done and we're learning late and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so this morning was like that. Got everything. And it's also been frigid. Yes. So I have to go out and I preheat the car because I'm courteous that way. My gosh. Get the frost off the windshield, let the car warm up a little bit. So, you got to go to school. There's no reason to hate the ride there.
Right.
So, I try to make it pleasant. And
it's nice.
So I go out, preheat the car, then I come back in. I realize I'm not going to have a chance to sit down and eat breakfast now, and I've lost that window. So I start packing up my breakfast, and then it turns out,
you're a breakfast guy.
Oh,
you need breakfast.
And it turns out, that Evangelin's got some extra stuff to carry to the car because of all the activity stuff. So I'm helping her get all her stuff together, and then our day is kind of multifaceted. So I'm getting I got multiple bags. So I'm actually multiple trips to the car.
I'm pretty sure she had a cello and like half a drum kit. So.
And it's multiple trips to the car in the cold, in the morning, and trying to get out there and trying not to cuss, trying to keep things positive, trying to be grateful at all times, and do all this stuff. And I get in the car, and Evangeline and I talk her on the way, and it's pretty good, and she's prepared for a day and all this stuff, and I drop her off, and we always do a kind of little handshake and a head noggin kiss or something like that. And
of course, where no one can see because she's 14. That's private.
And I get to the office, and I get out, turn the car off, get out of the car. I was getting ready to lock the car and realize at that moment that in all the hubbub and all the movement and all the hurricane that was in the morning, that I left my keys and my wallet on the to-go table at the house.
Yeah, so the car's running because
I'd already started the car.
You can start the car and it's on,
right?
And it's heating, but you left your keys and wallet at the house.
So,
Which essentially means
I have nothing. I can't get into the office.
Right.
And I can't start the car to go back and get my stuff. And
so you're just stuck.
Now it's 28 degrees and I'm just here in the car. And I did have, things to do. And so then of course all the emotions hit you. You're already frazzled. You're already in this moment. And I'm thinking to myself in this second, had this been a couple of years earlier, had I been younger, this could have been the moment where you
crap your pants.
You just start hitting the steering wheel.
That's it.
Or this, that, or I thought, it's not that far. I'll just walk back to the house. Because I'm calling you. You still happen to be at the house, but you were doing other things.
I was
understandably
already working. I hadn't looked at my phone.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to live with your phone, so it's not. It's okay. I called. We live with our phones on silent, so. You didn't know that I was calling and all that stuff. So I do a couple of those things and I'm thinking, I'll just walk. I'll just get up here. It's not far, but if you're walking, it's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it's 20 minutes back if you can't get a ride. And so that kind of takes care of the morning. And so doing all that stuff and I'm just thinking, okay, I could really damage the car by hitting the steering. I could just pound on that thing.
These things
yell.
All came through your mind.
I could let out a pressure release valve F-bomb or something like that.
I'm so freaking grateful right now.
Do all those things. And then I think, or you could take a breath and you could check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yes.
And then it kind of occurs to me at some level that is the difference between me now.
Yeah.
Versus me when I was younger a couple years ago. There's a thing that happens when you stub your toe or you hit something or, you pull something out of the refrigerator, the lid's not quite on right. And so it's
did
like
last night with the sour cream. It was everywhere.
I reached for something and I knew what I was doing. I reached my hand into the refrigerator like I was navigating cutting the wires on a bomb on something in the back of the refrigerator.
You and MacGyver.
So my hand is reached in there and I get the thing that I need. Mm-hmm. And now I am like Tetris. I'm turning it in different directions to make sure it doesn't bump the thing as I get other stuff out. And it does.
Okay,
it bumps the blueberries, and the blueberries come out of the fridge. They don't
fly.
fall out of
the
They launch themselves out of the refrigerator, and then they didn't wait to hit the ground. It's as if it was anticipating impact. It just opened its mouth and it just sprayed blueberries. And it was only like an ounce of blueberries in the container, but it sprayed 20 ounces of blueberries on the floor.
There's some under the fridge.
I don't even want to think about that.
Blueberries are the worst.
So in that moment, that's where you can, if you want, just lose your ever-loving mind. And you can lose your ever-loving mouth at the same time.
Well, and the thing about those moments that's interesting about it is it's not that dropping blueberries is that big of a deal.
No.
Or the sour cream with me last night. Or even locking your keys out of the car. It's everything, or locking yourself out of the car. It's everything that has led up to that.
It's hitting all at one time.
It almost always hits at a time where you're already at this like Mach 11, And that's when you have the choice, right?
Yeah.
To either, and it's human. Sometimes there is just some shit or whatever.
Right. There's a thing where you just gotta let that thing out.
Yeah. So
my mom,
it happens.
Yeah. My mom was, and she won't hear this, but
oh no,
where
this will be the one she listens to.
My mom was a triple cusser, so it was a shut.
Oh, that's so funny.
There's no vowel in it. It was just an SH. Exclamation mark at T. There was no vowel. There's no I. It was just shut.
Sometimes one's not enough.
Yeah.
Well, and I was raised in really a non-cussing family.
Right.
I mean, we would joke cuss here or there privately. But and so my mom was real big on not cussing, except for every once in a while, something would happen and she would just let it fly.
Oh,
and we would think it was so funny because she was finally human,
Right.
And sometimes she'd laugh, but then she would always guilt herself spiritually later. I felt so bad. She'd be like, I shouldn't have said that. She said one time, should I tell this story?
Sure.
This is terrible. Yeah. Since our moms don't listen. She said, okay, so I grew up in a spiritual home. And anyway, so she said, well, there's a scripture in the Bible and it says, out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks. So I guess there's shit in my heart.
Well,
and that is, I still give her the hardest time about that quote because it was so funny. As a mom, you're human. So anyway, we're not saying to feel bad about the times when you let it fly over the blueberries. However.
Yeah, and there are times where you just got to be expressive and authentic and, all that stuff. And there are things that, an occasion that I choose to say so I don't do something else. So I don't slam the door, or put my fist through the door, or, do this, and this. But this idea of there's something that has become kind of a habit for me for the most part, not all the time. I don't want to paint a rosier picture than it is. but as a habit now, it's almost like, there are people who have a personality type that would be deemed as passive aggressive.
Okay.
So where when an argument happens and the yelling begins, this person decides they will become
very calm,
much calmer. Yeah. It's much slower, much more intellectual, and it's what they would call passive aggressive. So instead of matching the temper, matching the explosion, and matching the volatility of what's going on, you're not doing it to help others remain calm. No. You're doing it to a sense, prod and poke. And it's an air of superiority.
It's interesting that you're so upset about this right now. And you're like, I will cut you.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you
crazy.
Which
in my family, my brothers and I used to joke that passive aggressive, hell, we would have paid for passive aggressive. We always had aggressive.
Aggressive.
We would have loved passive aggressive.
I don't know. I mean, I think aggressive, at least you know what you're going to get, right?
No, so in one kind of weird sense, over the last couple of years, I think it's the product of getting a little bit older. And after you hurt your hand enough times beating on the door or slamming the steering wheel or breaking something out of an anger moment, you break something that you can't really get back or you say something you can't really take back, all those kinds of things, you kind of go through enough of those things that you have to apologize for or figure out or get repaired or whatever. Yeah. Something in you says, what if we wait here? What if we stop here?
What if I check myself?
What if I check myself before I wreck myself? And so in this kind of almost pseudo-perverse expression, when it's kind of like the bigger the collapse, the bigger the crash, the bigger the whatever, the more I breathe and the calmer I get, and it's kind of this perverse enjoyment.
So you're being passive aggressive about your lack of anger.
Yeah, to the crash around me. Yeah, and so I found that, and then it can start to work its way into other parts of your life. Yeah. So like now we're with people all the time, and just because we're, it's probably always been this to an extent, but I think it feels more pervasive than it used to be. Somebody you're in conversation with just says something that just comes at you like a right cross. Like, here are all the things you believe, and this person inadvertently just elbows all of them off the table.
And you're like, oh
you're just
my
like,
God.
Did you really? Are we living in the same world? Are you seeing the same thing?
How can you even believe that?
And then there's a thing in you that, maybe at one point in time would have been said, what are you thinking? And WTF? And instead, now there's a thing that has this kind of a, oh yeah. Oh well. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting that you should say that.
I remember that after we first got married, and we've been married quite some time now, and it's been beautiful.
2 or 3 years at least.
Yeah, but when we first got married, you're kind of learning how to be in the closest relationship that you'll ever have. You're figuring out how to maneuver.
Hey, thank you for calling me that.
Hey, you're welcome. I mean.
Yeah.
The day's young, so.
That's right. We'll see where it goes.
Anyway, but we would also, when you love someone very deeply, you can be hurt by them the most, right? Because they know.
And you know the things that can hurt. And also
there's the things that would crush them.
You believe there's a backstop back there. So in a way, you kind of let things fly.
I feel like the first couple of years, the first couple of fights, you can really push the edge of the envelope with that.
Right.
And you can just like eviscerate someone's soul.
Yeah.
And we did a little bit of that here and there when we get upset.
Well, and we had a pattern from other family members, not just our immediate family, but other family members, where you just look around and you see, oh, this is what it is to be a man in a marriage. Sure. You're supposed to kind of lower the boom, or if you see kind of explosive anger modeled, you think, oh, that's how this is supposed to work.
Yeah. And I remember going through the same thing like when we first became parents. I was like, how are we going to do this?
Right.
So anyway, I feel like to me it was kind of like experimental, but there was a point pretty early into it, which I'm grateful for, where we realized, hey, we could just not say the things that are going to destroy each other's soul and just not do it. And so it was sort of like we both made a pact. I don't know if we ever talked about it specifically, but it was...
We did. We had a rule. We had a rule that you couldn't leave the house. Like you could have an argument. You could go to the balcony. You could go to the other room. But the idea
I'll
of
be
just
in the farthest closet away from
the idea of peeling out and leaving in a fit of rage, and it's okay. There are times now, because I think we're a little bit more self-controlled, that leaving for a second, catching your breath, that's okay. You're not leaving in a way that might physically harm you or somebody else.
Yes, or scare your kid or whatever.
Or because you can't see through the blood in your eyes.
Yeah. I remember during COVID, that was a tough time for so many people. And gosh, we got off easy. We were healthy. But I mean, we had no income. We didn't know what we were going to do with the rest of our lives, just like everyone else.
Still don't.
We're trying to homeschool a kid, and we're the worst at that.
Oh, man.
And other people had so many children.
We shouldn't be responsible for anyone's education.
It was bad. And so it really brought out, like it did with everyone, some tough conversations. I remember there were times where we needed time away. But what we would say is, or we would text.
Yes.
That was actually good from the other one. It was like, I'm going to go drive to the high school parking lot.
Right.
And so we knew that the other, and you would take sanity walks, which is great. You're like, I'm going to be walking for quite some time. Yeah. But I mean, I'm
just going to not be here for a second.
That's an example. And we weren't perfect at it all the time, but we've gotten to the point where, when you don't check yourself before you wreck yourself, what you're left with are the consequences and the cleanup.
Right.
And the hurt. And especially with words, I mean, you can ask forgiveness for words, but sometimes they're still there and it's tough. And so
it's tough for people to erase them.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like, so rather than me say these things, it's going to take so much backing up and so much apology and potentially not go away. I'm going to breathe, collect myself, and say, I'm going to be at the high school parking lot. For those of you who don't know, we live about 2 blocks from our high school. It was just a place that we could drive. We could just drive away for a little bit, and you would collect yourself, and that's it. And for me, that was breathing and praying.
It's such a brilliant principle, and I know everybody lives at different, expressive levels, and there are people who are very, very expressive this way. They're just as expressive about their joy as they are their anger. But it, this thing of thinking about okay. Playing this thing through. I'm going to say this thing. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to, whatever it is. Where does that go?
Yeah.
And if I say that, am I limiting the person's response?
Yeah.
So if I say, you know what, and you're a so-and-so, and you never. Okay, I am really limiting that person's response to me. Mm-hmm. Unless they have the miraculous grace of Oprah Winfrey, Tom Cruise, and Jesus. They're more likely to come out swinging because they're not likely to say, you're right, or I need to consider that, or no. If you come out that kind of anger, you're really only giving them that one chance to respond.
Was it way back in marriage counseling or something where someone encouraged us to you never want to say you never,
right,
or you always.
Yeah.
So those two things, those qualifiers, will really get somebody upset.
So, I think this whole thing, it's. The key is the warning light on the dashboard for all of us is when you feel this emotion thing rising up from your chest into your throat, approaching your mouth.
Yeah.
And it bubbles to a place where you feel like you might have an emotional fever as well as a physical fever.
Yeah.
Maybe your hands are tensing into a fist, maybe all that kind of stuff. At that moment is the moment to check yourself before you record. That's the moment to say. And sometimes there's something that has to be said right in that moment, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's some authenticity to the moment of not policing yourself all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's not a blanket rule, but it is a big rule.
Yeah.
And it's the rule that should be applied before we post things on social media.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It is the rule before we lose it on a cashier at the store, or a waitress or waiter at the restaurant, or the barista, or the person working for the IRS, or whomever it is.
Yeah.
When you're about to lose it, this is the thing to say, okay, let me measure this response. Let me make sure this really is the response that I want to give.
Yeah.
Let me make sure this really is the way I want to do this, so that I don't have to pay for this later,
Right. One of the things that really helps me, and this has been in parenting. It's
a whole nother arena.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
It's necessary for me. I do have a bit of a quick fuse. My emotions are I love to laugh. I love to have fun. I can be angry. But if I need to physically remove myself from the situation, is what helps me a lot.
Right.
So it may not be enough for me to take a deep breath. Sometimes I will just, when certain things are said, walk out of the room for a minute and then do a little breathing and then collect myself.
Yeah.
And come back in, and so that I can, and sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you just end up saying it, and and we're good apologizers in our family, and we're good forgivers, and that's great. But sometimes just taking myself out. Do you ever find that you physically removing yourself from the situation?
Absolutely.
For a minute helps.
And I'm not a Gandhi or that kind of person who can just do all that. I do need time. I do need a moment. I do need to release. Give the emotions a chance to come back down and the temperature to come back down sometimes before I can intellectually get there. I can intellectually say, you don't want to do this, you don't want to say this, you don't want to, all that.
But your body's still
body's still in that place. And I feel like I'm susceptible at that moment. I feel like I'm vulnerable at that moment to doing the thing I will later regret, or saying the thing I will later regret. So stepping back and letting the engines cool for a second, that helps me feel just a little bit more empowered to do the right thing and less vulnerable to doing the wrong thing in that process.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I do think that, and we've been hearing a lot about breathing, and that's something that, gosh, I don't know, maybe even as little as 5 years ago, we would have thought maybe, or that was a little woo-woo, whatever breathing, we're breathing. Right. But man, we know some really smart, incredible people that have helped us kind of understand how important that can be in terms of just getting quick control on the autonomic responses in your body, right?
Yeah,
in your nervous system. I hope I use the word autonomic right.
No one
it
will ever
sounded
know.
good.
They'll just assume you're right.
If you want to use a cool word and you throw it out, but then it's wrong, it makes you look real dumb.
No,
but anyway,
if they have to go back and look it up, then that says you're right already. Yeah.
Anyway, I just heard something about the nervous system.
Yeah,
I think it's the parasympathetic.
It's our counselor friend Lisa Roll.
Yeah, that's right. She was talking all of it. But it does help when you can take a few minutes and breathe. It's like the old thing, you count to 10.
It is
but
all
it's
connected. Our brains, our hearts, our emotions, all that, and our bodies are literally all one. Yeah. They're parts of one, in the same way that our hand is part of the body, and so is the foot and the eye and all that stuff. But our emotions do have physical ramifications, and our body and what we do with our body can help our emotions.
Yeah.
And so...
And I think that's it. I think breathing, taking a few deep breaths. So for me, if I can get out of the situation, removing myself for a minute and then breathing for a minute, it helps get quick control over the physical or verbal responses that I might have. The anger is natural, and you also don't want to stuff it down. I'm a good stuffer too.
The other thing I think
we've
done,
deal with it.
The other thing I think we've gotten better at, is saying, "Can we stop talking for a minute?" Yeah, because the words help the escalation, and because you're going to say something and you think you're definitive, the other person thinks it needs a response.
Yes,
and that's not my side, so this is my side, and you're going to say something. If you get to say something, I get to say something, and it just keeps
no one's listening.
Going. It's a roundabout, and we put each other in a corner at that point, and now we're on the defensive, and that puts us in a bad place and all that. So it just keeps rising. The temperature keeps going up. So it was there's a proverb, that we used to hold on to a lot growing up, but it was this proverb that, where words are many, sin is not absent.
I was just thinking about
that.
So,
you can translate however you want to, but, where the words are many, the crisis grows, the crisis, everything elevates. So there is a thing about saying, can we just take 5? Can we just stop talking for a minute and give this a chance to settle down and not let everything coming out of our mouths be a response to this.
Yeah.
And
I remember
response of violence vocally,
Yeah,
do that.
it's so true. I remember I'd grown up I was one of 3 kids, a family of 5, and we were under a lot of stress a lot of times. My parents were really busy, and we had great times as well. But I remember sometimes a lot of times, God, I can only imagine getting 3 kids out the door for an event, all dressed up to look perfect and be perfect. Mm-hmm. So we'd be in the car on the way and just, especially when all of us got to be teenagers. And my dad occasionally you'd hear the loud whistle, and he'd be like, I can't even do it. And he'd be like, no talking.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny, but the truth was,
we've instigated that rule when we're trying to leave.
Smart. He was like, no one talks.
You're trying to get out of town for something and go on a trip or get to the airport or whatever. And man, you want to talk about times when emotions are high and am I forgetting something? And you got to get out because the plane takes off. Yeah. And
you can't be late.
Whether you're there or not, the plane's going. And
it doesn't matter how your hair looks.
Yeah. So there can be a lot of tension and pressure just getting out the door and getting in the car. And then did I get this? And did you get that? And why were you this? And I told you to do this. And why didn't you? Yeah. And so and then, our daughter, who apparently doesn't have an antenna for any of that, will get in the car and say, oh, can we put on Rage Against the Machine? And you're like, oh my, are you kidding me?
She'll want her music right now.
And we will just say, hey, here's the thing. Until we get to the highway, no sound.
No sounds.
And I said, well, we'll put on some music. We'll do something here in a second. But between now and the highway, we just need to recover.
That's right.
We just all need to dial back down, just all need to check ourselves, bring the temperature back down, bring the volume back down, bring the intensity back down. And so that whole thing of check yourself before you wreck yourself, when you feel everything in you elevate, and you will get used to it. I mean, right? It's a natural, automatic thing that happens for us in the flight or fight thing and all that stuff. But there's a moment where if you ask yourself to, you become more and more aware when this happens. Like us when we were first married.
You can start to feel
this is a thing where I'm getting ready to say this thing that I'm going to apologize for in 20 minutes from now.
And I'm going to feel wounded and sad that I did for 2 days.
And I'm going to feel really heartbroken that I hurt this person the way I did. So what if I just skip that step and I don't say it? What if I just skip the step and we just stop?
And it hurts a little bit in the moment.
It is.
Because you want to say that so bad.
You want to scratch the poison ivy.
Right. And there is a quick release, but it's nothing compared to the 2 days of sadness and the backpedaling that you have to do. And I think that was my least favorite thing about when we would have conflict would be like the following day you just felt like you've been beat up and that you beaten someone that you love
in a car wreck.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's it on checking yourself before you wreck yourself. Like if you're going to...
I do want to say it's not saying you can't respond.
Right.
It's not saying that it's saying, I wonder what the right response is. I wonder what the most profitable response is, in terms of moving things forward. I wonder what the best response is. I don't know if I can make that decision with my head on fire. Right. So maybe if I could just cool things for a second, then I would sense, this is the right way to respond for all of this.
So if we were making a list, which we have not made a list, but one of those things I would say at the top of the list would be stop talking, right? For me, the second thing would be to breathe.
Yeah. Those are both really, really great.
And then the third thing can be to remove yourself from the situation for a time. Right. Do you have anything that you would add to that?
No, I think all those things are great.
Other people have tricks too,
It gives everybody a second.
Yeah.
It gives everybody a moment in that situation, or yourself if you're alone, like I was in the car. It allows you to say, okay, before I start on this 20-minute trek back to the house walking, is that the best use of the time?
Yeah.
Is there another option or another solution? If I just give this 5 minutes, is there a chance that this might be rectified some other way?
Right.
And if so, then okay. But otherwise, you just lose so much time. And there are so many, like even home repair projects I would get into. That you just get into it, and what started out as repairing a nail hole in a wall ends up a plaster job. Where you're, and before it's all you now you're calling repair people, and now what was a 5-minute thing now you've turned into this multi-day experience, and so we have, and you you really help me with that. And I think we both do this at some point. When you see someone exasperated, when you see someone caught up in something, sometimes you can be that voice to say, hey, I wonder what would happen if we just step back for a second.
Yeah.
If we just breathe for a second. If we just ask ourselves, is there another way? Is this the right thing right now? Should I call someone? Should I get help for something? What if I just stepped away from this for 30 minutes?
What if I didn't make the 9th emergency trip to Lowe's?
Right. Yeah.
Is
this indicative of something? If something is at this level and it's going to keep going at this level, maybe this is something I need to let go of right now.
Yeah.
And just ask yourself some of the questions that become easier to ask and easier to hear the answer to when you're quiet versus in the midst of the stream.
When we were snowed in one of the days, we ended up watching we try not to do a whole lot of this because it's addictive, especially for teenagers, but they're like YouTube shorts. But it was a funny series of videos.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like,
I know what you're talking about.
It was the dads.
It's called Dad Crash, right?
Yes. It says, it was videos of dads that are working on projects, usually home repair things, and they would just lose their shit. And it was so funny because it reminded us so much of you. I mean, not the way that they lost it, but occasionally. But they're trying to repair something and they fall off the ladder, or they're screwing a picture in and the whole picture falls on the glass breaks.
Where you're trying to install a fan and it's impossible. The fan's falling on you while you're trying to wire it and install it.
And what was funny was somehow they weren't scripted. It was like, I think what happened was the kids who probably had the phones out are watching their dads work on
someone put a compilation of them together.
Yes, right. And they're probably watching their dad work on a project, seeing that he's getting frustrated, like, oh, this is coming. It's going to be a dad crash.
The amount of language that was used was...
it was so funny. And,
it was funny till it was sad. And then
you were like... I love it. But I mean, this is what it is.
This will help you, though, I think, in every scenario. In your family scenarios, like when you do Thanksgiving, you do Christmas or 4th of July, whatever, when you're on the phone with a difficult person, when you're at the store, when you're cut off by someone, when someone is ugly to you, when you drop X, Y, or Z, whatever it is, even if you have a car wreck, whatever it is, that moment to stop for a second, breathe, and collect, check yourself before you wreck yourself, can be life-changing, can save so much heartbreak and sorrow and remorse and pain later if we just take that second. And it's not about denying things. It's not about suffocating yourself or any of those things, but it is about thinking, I have a better chance at making the right choice if I just wait for a heartbeat, if I just wait for a second.
That's super good. And it reminds me occasionally, maybe for some people, and this could be good for me, I make a note card that just says, check yourself. And I keep it because these things do become habit.
Yeah.
You learn to deal with things differently. You're not having to try so hard to do this.
Maybe there's one place where you lose it a lot.
Oh, I know where it is. It's bedtime. Getting our daughter in bed. I'm so tired and it takes so long and there's all these things. But I may need to make a poster size that says, check yourself. That's when I end up losing it. And you know that about me. You'll be like, let me...
You know what happens too? If you check yourself, then you can say, what's the response I can give or the thing I could say or do right now that might move this forward the most?
Yeah.
Versus just responding to the emotion and the anger and the vitriol that you feel in the second.
Yeah. It's so true.
You will never go to sleep again in this time. I'll let you sleep in the backyard if it's going to be like this. Yeah.
Sleep in the car. That's good. I like the idea of keeping it in front of myself as a reminder. Yeah. But that's the thing. Being human is hard. And we talk about it all the time. And there are things that we can do to make it better. And it's just like learning to exercise or whatever. It becomes a habit. And that's always encouraging because it gets easier, I feel like, to control that once you learn how to get a little bit of a grip on it. So I'm going to try better.
It's a really valuable thing. Okay, humans, you can do better as well. And just try this. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Where are the places that you're most likely to explode? What do you do when you start to feel that thing bubbling up inside of you? And then that becomes the thing to say, oh, slow down. And you drop the blueberries and they cover the floor. No one's trying to stifle you, but just think, before I slam the refrigerator door and then I break the pickles too, maybe take the breath, maybe passive aggressive with your anger.
I really like that.
And give yourself a second.
Yeah.
And I do think it'll make a lot of difference for you.
Yeah. All right.
This
good.
has been a great first episode of Hope for Humans.
Hope for Humans. I feel hopeful.
I do feel hopeful.
I might not wreck myself as often.
Funny little useful conversations that can help life suck a little less.
Yay.
That's right. All right, friends. We will see you again soon.
All right.
Peace out.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode. And remember, continue this conversation with someone you know. This is Pioneer Dream.